What is it like to be black in tech?
It's probably the same as being black in America. I think particularly post George Floyd, right, there's a lot of focus on you. There's a lot of people hoping you don't do well. There's a few that hope you do well. I think there are rules of the game, but the majority of power and assets still sit in the hands of white people. So I have been in venture capital since 1999, and it was a time when there were not a lot of black people, certainly not a lot of black women. We all literally used to meet in one cafeteria table in the offices of Goldman Sachs to talk about all of our deals across the country. Many of the deals at the time were tech, but there weren't a lot of tech deals as there are now. And so if you're really interested in being in the tech space and creating like a really big business and having an exit and selling it, then I think there's 4 things. 1, you need to be really clear what is the problem you're trying to solve and deeply understand it. Not like, oh, well, like I can't get my food on time, or oh, I can't find enough people who do locks. Like you've got to really understand the market. I think the second thing is understand how to manage cash. While venture capital exists, it doesn't exist at the same level for black founders, and so how do you operate in a cash-constrained or capital-constrained market so you can actually live long enough as a founder to get your customers and really get some market traction. I think the third thing is you've got to hire wisely and know who you're surrounded with and making sure they complement your skill sets and not replicate your skill sets. I think the final thing is you've got to be really comfortable with numbers.
What is it like to be not just black, but a black woman, black gay woman?
Mm-hmm.
In VC?
It sucks. We did an event at the University of Maryland, the DMV chapter of Black VC, and I walked in and I was like, wow, room full of people. And I said to one of my fellow board members, I was like, but where are the black women? I think I could have counted them on one hand, maybe half of a second hand. I mean, it was just not there. And so it's frustrating. I would have hoped by now that there would have been more black women in VC. But it's a hard business. I think it's mostly male dominated. So at some point I had to figure out, do I really want to fight for it or not? I think there's a presumption that black people can't add and subtract, but we can. So as a finance major, I love the tussle of conversations with white LPs of why do I think we're going to make money. But it's lonely as well. I mean, you spend a lot of time, when I started my first fund, I spent a lot of time on the road, you knock on doors, you get lots of no's, and you're really under a pressure cooker because people are watching you. If you make a mistake, it's not just I've made a mistake, all black people have made a mistake. And I think some entrepreneurs carry that, but I think people are a little bit more tolerant in the entrepreneur space. I think in the LP space, because there's still not a lot of us writ large, forget about women, if we don't do well, we recognize that we are potentially stopping other people to follow in our footsteps. I think being gay, ironically, has actually been helpful to me because I tend to do more male-like things. Like I'll go to a bar and have a conversation with somebody, drink. I play golf, I play ball. And so I think oftentimes, for better or for worse, I'm very clear about that, I think white men are much more comfortable with me because they see me as like, oh, okay, like she could be one of the guys versus someone who's walking in high heels and a dress. And unfortunately, automatically think, oh, that reminds me of my daughter, or that reminds me of my wife, and then you're kind of off the track. So I think I've been able to benefit from being able to say, hey, I have a wife too. And they're like, oh, and I've got kids too. Oh, I think they're able to find just a little bit more in common. And I've seen them literally like let their guard down.